The farm life calls. Do you hear it? Simplicity, clarity, comfort. A picturesque pastoral landscape surrounds you as you tend to your animals, tend to your crops, tend to your many, many children. Today I'm going to tell you a story about a woman named Hannah Neeleman who is living that very dream. And all it took for her to achieve it was abandoning her career in dance, marrying the son of an airline mogul, and accumulating 10 million Instagram followers. Buckle in as we take a trip to Ballerina Farm. My name is Josh Borman.
I'm June Sternbach.
And this is Ill Conceived, a podcast about natalism. We're back to the farm this week, June. Spending time on the old farm.
That's where I sent you last week. I sent you to RFK Jr.'s ADHD depression farms.
That's right. I was on the depression farm. I'm back with news from the farm. I still have mental illness, folks.
What happened to that? I feel like RFK's mental illness farm thing was like a promise early on, and I feel like it was not mentioned at all. I have not heard any news about that since.
I don't know. I think that maybe they sort of realized that the idea of compulsive labor camps is just maybe not the sort of thing they should be openly talking about.
Yeah. That's what they talk about, that behind closed doors. When no one's
exactly.
listening.
That's for inside consumption, not for outside dissemination.
No, maybe one day we'll hear more about it. I really, RFK Jr. bad sucks evil, but I really love hearing his insane ideas. I need to know more.
Well, we're not going to be hearing from RFK Jr. today, but I feel like we're going to be talking a little bit about some stuff that feels directly adjacent to that world in terms of the whole wellness and health, We're making America healthy again, one podcast episode at a time here on the show. But yeah, I've been, unfortunately, a little unhealthy. I have not been making America healthy again. I have been a bit ill. I'm still kind of recovering. I've been coughing. So thank you to all of our wonderful babies for your patience as I have healed. On my other show, I have two co-hosts, so I'm able to offload some of the work, but it's just the two of us here. And so sometimes that means that I just have to listen to my body when it's telling me that it's time to slow down.
Sadly, the RFK voice, speaking of would not make great a half of an episode.
No, that's true. If I just showed up and I was like, I need to talk about natalism. Yeah, no. How have you been? Well, the past couple weeks?
I've been great. I've been wonderful. Okay. I've been so well.
I've missed our little talks.
I know. It's been like 2 weeks. It makes me sad. It makes me very sad when we don't have our little sessions. I always have so much fun. In the meantime, though, I went on a couple of podcasts. I went on the Anime Sickos really recently.
Yes.
That one just came out today.
Yes. Fantastic.
So go check that out if you're fiending. Of course, at the end of this episode, if you're fiending for more, we should provide a link in the description for that, because those are the homies. Those two are they're just great. They're great.
They are great. I've also been guesting. I went on Lions Led by Donkeys, and I went on Well, There's Your Problem, which was. That was great. Talked about the Ambassador Bridge, the big bridge that spans between Detroit and Windsor, Ontario, and had a good old time talking about a bridge that I like, that it has problems, but the big problems are more to do with the management than the bridge itself.
I love bridges. I don't like when they fall. Not a big fan of that.
Do you want to go ahead then and dig into the mailbag here, the world famous mailbag?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a couple letters in here today, both of which are a bit on the longer side, but I think they're both kind of fun in different ways. We always like to hear from you about ways that natalism, which is to say the ongoing project of trying to bring up the birth rate, all of the sort of impacts that it has had on your life. And I think both of these letters talk about it in different, interesting ways. So I guess I'll do the first one, and then if you want to do the second one, June, does that sound good?
Perfect.
Cool. So this first one is called Eugenics for Libs 2, Electric Boogaloo. And this is from Anna, who says, "Hey, J&J.
Yippee.
As you guys have covered extensively, undertones and overtones of eugenics are increasingly prevalent in the modern tech natalism movement. So I thought you might like to hear about how a local eugenics group was trying to recruit/proselytize gifted kids from high schools where I grew up.
No.
I was one of the said gifted at my high school, which really just meant my brain was the right type of spicy to be good at school. My counselor had called me in to inform me that I was valedictorian, and whilst I was in there, he gave me a scholarship offer from the local chapter of an academic honor society, Phi Beta Kappa. Basically, they were offering to give me and the other 4 top 5 students in my class $200 for textbooks at a university with the caveat that I attend a lecture and dinner at a private liberal arts college in town.
Wait, only $200?
I guess, yeah. That's their way of getting you in the door. I think it's kind of like the free lunch to buy a timeshare type thing, you know?
Yeah. It's like that's a steal.
The campus was beautiful. And the dinner was catered in an impressive lecture hall where there were probably 24-ish high school students from the area, along with some local members of the Honor Society. I remember feeling strange during the socializing time before the talk. I was surrounded by people I assumed were brilliant, and I was both high on the excitement that I'd been chosen/recognized as special, while also feeling the subtle and desperate pressure to fit in and not be discovered as some sort of normal peasant fraud. But then the speaker for the Honor Society started her lecture. A lecture on the history and application of eugenics.
Yikes. Oh.
At the start, I was so desperate to belong with these intellectuals that I was gaslighting myself into thinking, oh, maybe they're correct. But by the end of it, I realized I must be a fraud because I seemed to be the only person in the entire lecture hall that was reacting to the obvious red flags being waved in our faces. The lecture started off in an innocuous manner, looking at the history of the eugenics movement and covering how some bad dudes have used it as justification for some bad things.
Bad guy with a gun. There's good guys with a gun.
That's right. A good guy with the eugenics. But then I distinctly remember when the lecture turned with something along the lines of, well, just because some people associate eugenics with bad things doesn't mean it in itself is bad. Excuse me, what did you say? It went quickly downhill from there, talking about how eugenics is the key to intentional human evolution, in positing that we can use it to build a healthier, more intelligent society. By the end of the lecture, she was telling us that we were all very intelligent students who were, as a result, destined to be high achievers, and that it was our responsibility to make sure we reproduce with equally intelligent and successful people in the future to produce gifted kids of our own.
Dude.
I cannot emphasize this enough, but we were children. The oldest students in that lecture would have been 18 max. It was an extremely jarring event, to say the least. The ideology alone is enough to unsettle, but being exposed to it in an otherwise liberal and progressive setting was a bit of a jump scare, and part of the reason why this experience has stayed with me nearly a decade later. As you covered in the episode specifically about eugenics and IQ, eugenics does have a history associated with liberalism, and I think this experience is proof that the same can still be true in our current world. Just because you're educated and intelligent does not mean that you are immune to bad takes. It is easy to reductively interpret the rise of Trumpian politics as an issue of too many dumb voters, and we have all known or seen a lib making a joking comment about how people should need to take an intelligence test before they're allowed to have kids. But thinking like this can be a slippery slope into really problematic eugenicist waters. It is especially easy to slide down that theory slope when you have it baked into your brain that you are special and smarter and genetically better than the masses, as is often the case with these sorts of honor societies. I looked into Phi Beta Kappa. They don't post publicly or otherwise advertise freak views like that lecture I attended, so the eugenics proselytizing might have just been unique to my own local chapter or even just that speaker, who knows. But this could also just as easily be an example of the sort of crazy things these people talk about in their closed-door, private invitation, surrounded by like-minded individuals settings. Who knows? All I can say for certain is that 17 U.S. presidents have been members of this society.
I was just looking into that. Yeah, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was in there.
Along with 42 Supreme Court justices and 150 plus Nobel laureates.
God damn.
These are people claiming to be the best and brightest our society has to offer, and many of them do end up in places of significant power and influence. For anyone curious about the scholarship, I took their goddamn $200 and ran, and then spent the next 4 years ignoring every single email those guys sent me. Ghosting at its finest. Best wishes from one of your best babies, Annabellum.
Thank you so much for that email. That is fascinating. I've never really looked that deep into a lot of these not a secret society. This is like Greek life, I have to assume, Phi Beta Kappa. I didn't realize there was like a liberal, like high-end liberal one. That is sort of fascinating, that there is sort of like the society of like high what do you call that, like high,
it's an honor society
liberals. Yeah,
it's an honor society of people who are really, really good at academics specifically. I mean, it makes sense that a lot of these people who vest tremendous value in academic performance might just think of themselves as being better than you.
Yeah, I mean, something I think, Josh, you've probably also noticed, especially like in the time of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, all the way up to even today, where there is this constant discourse online between like leftists and liberals, where liberals will be like, "Oh, the Bernie bros, they're not intelligent, they're mean, they're rough, they're lower class," or whatever. Like the way that people will talk about like poorer people. Or people in the South, especially. Like liberals do that all the fucking time, where they're like, "Oh, everyone in the South is irredeemable," and it's like, I mean, no, like just because the like far right controls a lot of these states doesn't mean that all of these people should just be like thrown aside. It's like that. Like there is, I guess, all of this to say is like I have noticed this sort of low key, like we are better than all of you because we're educated and college degree owning liberals. And you are the warehouse factory worker. Therefore, you're not as important as us. Or smart.
At bottom, it comes down to classism, and the academy is one of many ways that classism in our society is upheld. I mean, there's a reason. I was also looking into it. Like Phi Beta Kappa started at the College of William and Mary, which is one of the oldest, most prestigious institutions of all of higher learning in the United States.
I would be curious to know who this speaker was. It doesn't seem like this person remembered, sadly. But I have to imagine it's sort of one of those like graduating college things where they invite a speaker in, just whoever, it might be random. So I would have to assume, I would at least hope that this person is just sort of like was like, "Hey, I have a buddy who talks about science and smart stuff."
What a weird way to pitch a whole bunch of people who are like about to go into college on being in your honor society, though, right?
Yeah,
to be like,
it doesn't really work.
"Hey, kids, you ever heard about eugenics?" Like, what?
It gets a bad rap because of Hitler. Yeah, that's a very weird one. That's so odd. The thing that I had not ever noticed before doing this show is there is actually a quite large grouping of people, especially, in the tech-natalist worlds, that really, really, really want you to think eugenics should be like the focus of science, like health science. Like they really want to whitewash the history of eugenics and be like, "No, we got this, though."
And we got another letter here as well, our second letter in the world-famous mailbag. Do you want to go ahead and read this one, June?
I got this, yeah. So the subject is, "My mom was anti-vax before it was cool, and the wonders of John Calvin." This is from Jay. "Hello, Junsha." It's like Jusha.
Yeah, and the other one was J and J, so I guess the mailbag is tied
Clean split. We're centrist today. "First off, I love the show. It has really helped me make sense of the way I was raised and feel seen by a couple of kind, funny people such as yourself. Aw. It is baffling It is baffling how many things the show touches on that made me feel ill and out of place as a kid, like I was somehow an inherently defective person from the jump. My parents split up and remarried other people when I was pretty young. My dad was a more stable, regular individual. My mom was not. Some personal issues with her family and the divorce led her to become a conservative, born-again Christian. To deal with it, I think the guilt from what she perceived as her own moral failings. She married a goofball and has continued to get wacky with it year after year. I love to describe becoming a far-right individual as it's just a little wacky.
Just get wacky with it.
It's a goofball behavior, yeah. My mom got into dispensationalism, so I grew up on Adventures in Odyssey. Thank you for Wits Endless Summer, by the way, Josh.
You're welcome.
That's at you. And the hokey nonsense from James Dobson. I protested abortion clinics with my mom as young as 9 and was often used by the church and my parents to sway people from getting abortions and sign petitions for a personhood bill. My mom has been anti-vax and anti-fluoride since 2006.
Sweet.
I also have 2 specifically Dutch Christian Reformed questions for Josh.
I am ready.
1. Have you ever heard the phrase, "If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much"?
Yes,
I
obviously.
don't know what that is. What the fuck is that?
That is axiomatic and true. If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. If you grew up in a like Dutch diaspora community, basically, like the one in West Michigan or the one in South Dakota or the one in Iowa, because they are all small and insular communities, their whole thing will be like, yeah, if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much.
It's like a phrase you'd see if like Italian fests in different communities. Yeah. It's like, oh, we love being Italian. It's just like if you know, and you're
That's
part
exactly
of the crew.
What it is.
Yeah.
You ain't Dutch, you ain't much. Yep.
And the other question is, are you familiar with the term Dutch bingo?
Love it. Play it all the time.
What is it?
So Dutch bingo is basically when, for instance, this letter writer in writing about certain aspects that we have withheld from the final edit, just for the sake of like being personally identifiable information. On reading some of those things, I was like, okay, I bet I could play Dutch bingo with this person and get down to like 2 links, which is like, who do you know who knows somebody?
Handshake
and
theory.
They're all Dutch.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's just like how every trans person is one handshake away from another trans person anywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like affinity groups, right?
Yeah.
New York Italians are this way. Just the Irish generally.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. I love it. Awesome. And then thanks again for the show, Jay. Thank you for the email. Yeah. I mean, I growing up, I went to Catholic school, not quite as extreme as this, but I did inherently know, and they didn't even like say anything about gay people or any, like they were not homophobic at all anywhere in my life, but I still just did have that like, it's probably not, I feel shame for being bisexual.
Yeah.
I think it's just sort of inherent to a lot of Christian upbringing and teaching.
And I also feel fortunate that so many people feel, I guess, seen by the show.
Yeah.
And that both of the letter writers, that I really appreciate that you feel like you can trust us, and that's just really important to me in general, and I hope that we can continue to win your trust as we do our show.
Also, not that you just trust us, but you trust all of the other people listening with these stories. So thank you so much.
I think that it's sharing these stories that helps keep us all sane.
Yeah.
If you would like to share your story or just like something about the episode that made you think of something or whatever, we would love to read your letter from the world famous mailbag. Just send it to illconceivedpod@gmail.com, and we may very well read it on the show, either here in the main show or on one of the bi-weekly Patreon B-sides.
All right, what are we talking about today, Josh? Tell me about it.
Let me tell you.
We're
talking about Ballerina Farm.
Timothy Chalamet's there? Ballerina?
Yes. I'm trying to go with you on this. No, one of the things that somebody sent a letter about fairly recently was like, what are some women influencers in the world of natalism who are worth covering, right? And I was like, yeah, you know what? We haven't been covering that as much as we maybe could or should. And it made sense to me to start with a figure who has become pretty prominent in this world, even though she herself does not explicitly identify as a natalist. Mm-hmm. She is a social media influencer with a pretty powerful consumer brand, over 10 million Instagram followers. Hannah Neeleman, aka Ballerina Farm.
Incredible. I love a suit, like some sort, like a trad wife who is a brand. That's my favorite part, is when the trad wives are brands, consumption brands. That's really awesome, honestly. But no, it's interesting that I through some of the stuff that I was reading about her, we touched on her before in the Trad Wives episode, briefly to frame everything up, I think, in that episode. But yeah, no, she doesn't really, she's sort of a step away from it. She tries to like stay above all of it, is my perception. Yeah.
Yeah, she positions herself as being sort of above the fray.
Yeah.
But because at bottom she is advocating for natalism, implicitly or explicitly, and I'll let the listener decide, I think she's very much worth covering on this show.
It's very traditional gender rolled, the way she talks, which does inherently, I think, have that agenda underlying it. She just doesn't go like MAGA. Maha. Yeah,
exactly. And this episode is going to sort of be a continuation, as you were saying, of the episode we previously did about trad wives. So if after listening to this, you're like, oh, I want to know even more about this world, definitely go give that episode a listen as well. June, that was one that you prepared, and I think it does kind of a good job of framing up the different types of tradwifery and sort of how they appeal to different people. So let's dig into it, right? Yeah. Hannah Neeleman. This is a woman who is 35 years old as of time of recording. She'll be turning 36 in June, so she is basically my age. And as I was saying, like, her whole thing is this big brand, Ballerina Farm, the crunchy homespun return to the land type shit, and also having lots of babies.
Yeah.
And Hannah, a little bit about her background. She was born and raised in Utah County. If you're not familiar with Utah County, that is the part of Utah that is by Salt Lake City that is not Salt Lake City.
Okay.
She always wanted to be a dancer. That was her deal. That's why it's called Ballerina Farm, her brand, because she apparently had quite a bit of potential. When she was 14, in summer of 2004, she actually did a summer program at Juilliard and later on ended up getting into their dance program, which is a 4-year BFA. That was her undergrad. And she did end up graduating from that program in 2012. According to an interview she did with the New York Times, though, at the end of 2024, professional ballet was not her life's goal. Now, this is one of many examples of something that is going to be open to interpretation in terms of how true you think this is or not. I find her to be a very, very unreliable narrator.
Especially because it's like there was a point in some of the early interviews when she was blowing up, especially where she was like, "Oh, my husband said I could I could be a ballerina, I could dance for a living, but I really wanted to just buckle down, put on the boots, get dirty on the soil with my family, and raise a bunch of kids." So it's like, it seems like she has at certain places said different things aimed at different people.
Exactly. This is a narrative that has sort of had to evolve over the years because she has come under quite a bit of criticism from a number of different places. And I think we're going to see sort of some examples of how that has happened and how that has caused her to reframe her own narrative. It is fair to say that not only did she want to be a dancer, she was a good dancer.
Yeah.
You don't just get into the Juilliard BFA program without being a good dancer.
It's pretty exclusive. Like you have to, if I also understand it correctly, just what I've learned over the last couple of weeks of ballerina discourse from Timothée Chalamet, it seems like it's a very moneyed crowd. Like, you'll come from money generally, is from what I understand, if you're sort of in this track and able to get to that level.
Yes. And I don't know exactly how wealthy her family is. She's certainly not wealthy in the way that her husband is.
Right.
And we'll get there. But like, Hannah is also from a family with 9 kids.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And if you want to raise 9 kids, generally speaking, you're going to have some sort of a financial backstop, But you do also have to consider, of course, that she is from a family that is Mormon. And traditionally, people who grew up in the LDS church end up having a lot of kids.
They're really dedicated to their cause. Catholics, not so much.
Not so much.
Catholics, we're bad. We're bad.
The other thing that Hannah did growing up is she was in beauty pageants. And continued to be in beauty pageants. And in fact, she paid for a good chunk of her tuition, she says, with winnings from pageants. Because generally speaking, when you do pageants, you get paid in scholarships.
That's interesting. I know, not to make this about Donald Trump, but I'm going to make it about Donald Trump. It's so fascinating that like pageants also are like a big moneyed thing, which is odd to me because it's like children. It's like usually little girls or like teens in many cases for some of these pageants. I assume she was like younger in her pageants.
No, she kept doing it all the way through adulthood.
Okay.
And was like, we'll talk about a few pageants that she did as an adult pretty recently, actually.
Oh, gotcha. I will hold my thoughts then.
But by the time we get to college, she's probably not on the track to be like a professional ballerina with like the New York City Ballet or something like that. Because generally speaking, if you're going down that road, you're not doing the BFA track. You're actually like, or if you are also dancing professionally alongside doing the degree, whereas she is just doing the degree. Okay. So again, this is absolutely a track that could put you on a track toward being a professional, toward maybe having your own studio, that sort of thing. But because the way that ballet works, you kind of have to get into it professionally when you're very, very young. It's kind of like, gymnastics or that kind of thing.
I mean, it's like any sort of specialized like interest, like, traditional, like symphonic orchestra too. It's like, that is your life. That is your track. Right. That is your career. Hopefully. It's very tough to get into. It's like any of these sort of more specialized traditional interests or hobbies. Yeah.
But, she's doing well at this point and she's enjoying life in New York City. One day she gets introduced to the man who will be her future husband, Daniel Neeleman, by a mutual friend of theirs. In their accounting of it, they didn't hit it off right away. And then she was basically like, okay, I'm off doing my own thing. But Daniel, he says, was absolutely smitten. Now, I need to note here that Daniel's father, David, is the founder of JetBlue, the airline.
Big money.
So he comes from some pretty significant money. And I want to read you a quote now. This is from an article that we'll be quoting a little bit more throughout this episode, but it's from the Times, not the New York Times, but the Times in London, right? The Sunday Times. One day she mentioned to Daniel that she was getting the 5-hour flight from Salt Lake City to New York, back to Juilliard. Daniel also roots in Salt Lake City because, again, Mormon, right? And he was at BYU at the time, Brigham Young University. She didn't realize his dad owned the airline. So Daniel was like, I'm on that same flight, she says. I remember checking in and them saying, you're 5A and you're 5B. I just thought, no way, that's crazy. Daniel smiles. I made a call. He had pulled strings at JetBlue, and so began their first date. This is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is, traditional, rich person can do absolutely anything they want, but also super creepy.
Creepy.
Imagine you get on your flight and you see this guy you went on a date with once. It's like,
and not even a date, right?
No, yeah.
They were just together at a basketball game for a second, I guess is what happened.
You have bad vibes with some dude. They didn't say bad vibes, but just imagine in your own mind, bad vibes, weird vibes, all right vibes. You get on a fucking plane and it's like, oh, he's there waiting for me,
and we're gonna be seated next to each other for 5 hours on this nonstop from Salt Lake City to New York.
Red flag right there. Personally, for me, that's a huge okay, red flag.
Back then, I thought we should date for a year before marriage, she continues, so I could finish school and whatever. And Daniel was like, it's not going to work. We've got to get married now. After a month, they were engaged. 2 months after that, they were married, moving into an apartment that Daniel rented on the Upper West Side. And 3 months after that, she was pregnant. The first Juilliard undergraduate to be expecting, in quotes, in modern history.
That's fucking crazy. I guess that's a Mormon thing, right? Date to marry.
For sure.
Yeah. She was Mormon growing up too. They were both Mormon. Okay, yes. So I guess she was amenable to that sort of prodding.
Presumably,
I have to imagine he was heavily hey, we need to do this. He's a very traditional minded. For me, red flag.
And this is also one of those things where a lot of people on reading this are like, oh, she wanted to be free and he kept her from being free. And it's I don't know that that's true necessarily. You have to understand that the cultural assumptions of this world are that you're going to get married early. But I also think it is fucking weird.
It's really weird.
This is not normal.
It's especially weird because she was actually actively pursuing her own career and education. If she was just not really dedicated to that sort of thing, if she was maybe, I don't know, just working a job or something, then I would be a little less all right, it's still weird, but it's less weird. But it is odd that that quickly they met. All of a sudden he's on the plane, insistent, we have to get married.
We gotta do it.
And yeah, it's a little odd. I just cannot trust. Whenever I knew someone in college who got married immediately after graduating, both of them, at least they did both graduate. And it's just I don't know, man. You haven't lived outside of campus before, and you have not lived together. and you're just going to go for it? Okay.
And the other thing I'll say too is that having gone back and looked at like the entire history of the Ballerina Farm's Instagram account, which of course is a curated social media presence.
Yeah, it's long. They've been around for a while.
Yeah. It is clear that she loves New York. Early on in that timeline, she keeps going back. Both before and after the period in Brazil. Because that was the other thing. They moved to Brazil for 4 years. His dad hooked Daniel up with a job in Brazil. And so then Daniel was like, hey, babe, we're moving to Brazil. And they moved to Brazil.
Okay, I guess.
But then in 2017, finally, back to God's promised land, the great state of Utah. They bought a farm on or around June 18, 2017. I found the post. Do you want to read the little caption on this Instagram post?
Absolutely. We bought our farm. The past few weeks, we've spent hours exploring creeks, knolls, springs, and ditches. Daniel and I are still pinching ourselves, as it is everything we wanted. Tonight, we all piled on the four-wheeler and drove the land. 6 people on a four-wheeler is not wise. In fact, I don't recommend it unless 4 of you are under 5, in which case, proceed with caution. The smells and sounds deserve their own chapter, a chapter for another day, as we were caravanning on the ATV tonight and all clinching onto Daddy while enjoying summer and wind in our faces. I couldn't help but hug him tighter. I'm so happy. It's already been named Ballerina Farm. It's Ballerina Farm. That's
because
a reference.
She's a ballerina and it's their farm.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
It's crazy how quickly she was just willing to change her life like this. It's very easy to be doing one thing and then be like, you know what? I want to blow up everything, do something else. I want to do something else. Very common. A lot of people do that, especially nearing their 30s. She was, I think at that time, probably 26, 27.
27 years old. Yeah.
Around that time, a lot of people are like, I want something new. I want something different. But this is quite the change, especially because as you mentioned, if you go back far enough, it's she clearly still had a lot of love for New York and not being tied down to a location like that.
And at this point, they already had 4 babies. Well, not 4 babies, 4 children. The newest baby had literally just arrived. And most of the videos that are on the Instagram account around this time are just of her dancing. She still is very much keeping in practice. One of the first things they do in the farm is they buy pigs. Because Daniel always wanted to be a hog rancher, I guess. His on Insta is hog fathering.
That's a very hyper-specific thing. I know a lot of people have fantasies, especially after Stardew Valley, of being like, I'm going to open a farm one day.
Yeah.
But specifically, hog ranching is, especially when you come from money. Maybe it's because he comes from big money and sort of can just be aspirational.
He can do whatever he wants.
Anything he wants. He doesn't have to worry about it. But that is an odd thing to fixate on, is hogs.
Yeah, they are coming at this with basically zero knowledge of the domain whatsoever. They are not farmers. That is not the world that they come from. And I'm not saying you can't go into something that you are not from, but there is this weirdness with the Ballerina Farm social media thing in general, where it's wait, but how are you making money on any of this? It doesn't seem that the sort of business they have established could ever possibly be profitable.
Especially because being a small farm is not super easy in the United States. So just generally these days, especially, but it was probably an example of them just being we're going to spend as much of my family money. We're going to invest in this. We're going to build it. It doesn't matter if it's a loss. It doesn't matter if anything's looking bad. We can sustain this lifestyle.
I would assume so. I mean, I was not able to find hard information about the numbers. They obviously don't make any of that public, but it seems to me they just really wanted to have a farm and sort of live a more trad life. And the incredible reach of this Instagram account ended up facilitating the growth of the farm. Right when they just sort of started up the farm, which again was beginning of 2018-ish, the content is influencer content and it's family influencer content, but it's not trad wife content. There's lots of photos of, oh, here's all the little kids and they've got little baby animals. Look at the ducklings. Aw.
They were trying to find their style, maybe. And maybe there was, I imagine, something that like blew up. I mean, in the original trad wife episode, we were talking about how there was the one, I'm blanking on who it was, but there was the one influencer who was like, yeah, when I dress explicitly more feminine, more traditional, her stuff would go a lot farther. Their reach would hit the algorithms like fucking crack.
I think a big piece of what it was that they started to restore the actual farmhouse that was on the property of the farm that they purchased. And they restored it in a way where, yeah, it looks trad, but no expense was spared. You see that oven right there?
Yeah.
That's an Aga. That thing costs $30,000.
Just a traditional peasant grade oven. Yeah. Anyone can do that.
And so that's the thing that I think people find so fascinating about Ballerina Farm in general, is that it is so clear that there is so much money under this thing. And so they are presenting this veneer of pioneer homesteading that is completely separated from the material realities of what it looks like to actually be out there on a homestead just as a person trying to live off the land. They don't need to live off the land, you know?
No. I think that's what's sort of the most interesting to me about just tradwives in general, especially these people, is that they bear the aesthetic, but they are like a consumer brand. That's what this is. It's a consumption front-facing influencer brand.
Right.
And that's like if you're truly a trad wife. And she, again, for to her credit, she doesn't necessarily identify as a trad wife, but she still, I think, has that aesthetic where is it really a traditional trad wife to be like this front-facing business leader influencer? It's like, It's sort of that weird quandary of that we face in the original episode that we did about trad wives, where it's like none of this is like actual trad wives. It's all like a propped up aesthetic to sell like beef or pork in this case.
And I think in order to get there, you have to dial in on a specific aesthetic. And just to that point here, I pulled up some stuff here. This is the sort of thing they were posting in 2018. You can see June. Like, here she is just stuff. Like taking a selfie with a cute little pig. And oh, look at the little piggies. And there she is with her daughter just kind of standing there. And there's another piggy. And
it looks like a general like Facebook timeline. Like just go on like your uncle or aunt's timeline and you'll see this sort of shit.
And then every once in a while, there will be a video of her practicing dance. This feels much more...
It's very authentic.
It feels like a real person.
Yeah.
In a way that the stuff post-2020 simply does not. To me, at least.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, especially like now scrolling down to these. It's like, why are their babies dressed like little peasants from like like the 1800s? Like, that's odd. That's an interesting choice to do, like in 2020.
Or the caption on this one, right? I spend a good portion of my day clutching a 5-gallon bucket, often one in each hand. It's one of those questions I'll ask the good Lord upstairs when I get the opportunity. All those years on the farm, how many miles did I walk with a bucket in my hands? Here I go one more time, taking this bucket of scrap goodies to my lucky animals. Always helps to haul buckets in style. But then my favorite thing is that there's a little emoji of a dress, and then there's the @ of the designer of the dress. Because this is SpawnCon.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude. It is. We live in an interesting age where traditional legacy media is like basically dead in the water. Not really as dominant as it used to be. It's falling apart in a lot of cases, especially under like the Ellisons. Everything's very online now. And it's interesting that like we see places like CBS or CNN recently do the like sort of opposite, the like bro aesthetic that like Tucker Carlson also does, where he's like, oh, we got the cigar, we got the whiskey, we got the wood cabin aesthetic, where we're like, oh, we're just like so fucking smart. And like we're this is the man cave. I guess I'm just piecing together right now where it's like we sort of have like the opposite.
Yeah, this is the girl version of that.
This is the girl version. Trad wife is you wear a beautiful dress and you talk about God and you. But yeah, this is so odd.
And I feel like this is maybe a good time to note as well that Hannah Neeleman is insanely pretty.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Yeah.
She is like blonde, very tall, incredibly athletic, obviously, as a dancer. So there's that aspirational piece of it as well. She somehow manages to do it all. She's the mom who does it all. She cooks, she takes care of her kids, she maintains her figure, she does it all, goddammit.
How inspiring, right?
I'm inspired.
Everyone wants to be like her.
By the time we get to like 2021, 22, the account has dialed into, I think, the thing that establishes it as a brand, right? We are firmly trad. The content is photos of freshly prepared meals, videos of her prepping said meals, while the children just kind of like run around and say shit. Although, again, notably, it's always curated. You're never going to have the kids like screaming and running around. They're going to be like talking or like helping out with a little thing, because she's got it all under control. She's the mom who can do it all.
The picturesque, perfect family. Yeah.
Yes. And also, somewhat notably, she says that going into this, there's a post on the Instagram account somewhere that I found where she's like, yeah, I actually didn't know how to cook at all getting started.
Oh, wow.
Which is, if true, fucking crazy.
To give her some credit, she clearly has done a lot. She does do a lot, clearly. Yes. I mean, she cooks, she can farm. Yeah. I can cook fine. I can cook decent things. I can't farm. I can play I used to play Farmville. I could not transfer that ability.
I think there's also clearly lots of labor that is being performed by other people who we don't have the opportunity to ever see. But that's another topic of conversation.
So that's what I'm sort of curious about, especially because I can't imagine, especially as you alluded to, like, oh, she does it all. It's like they clearly have like some sort of assistance or help or something. And I think it's interesting that they do not include that. No. I mean, they have to present this very aspirational lifestyle. So they can't. That would break away the illusion, because a lot of this is an illusion. This is an intentional curated illusion, being like, oh, here are our farm workers. That doesn't really mesh very well, because there's lots of farms out there, but this is the one that people really like. People don't care about normal farms.
They have farm hands. We know that. They have warehouse workers, the people who like actually package and ship their direct consumer goods, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. They have a full-time staff of at least 30 people. We know this.
God. Yeah. I mean, to have, I think as of today, they have 8 children, right? They have 8 kids.
9.
Nine. They have 9. They have to have some sort of assistance with that, especially if they have a farm. Like, my guess is they don't really do a lot of, especially these days. Maybe they did at first. These days, especially, I cannot imagine they do most of the like housework, the like farm work, the
or
actual,
even the cooking, right? Like, I feel like those are content deliverables. But
they should. You know what they should do? They need to post a picture of ordering a pizza. Do they ever have pizza? Do they ever live a little bit? Do they ever have some fun? It doesn't seem like it. Little Caesars, they don't know what that is. They have no clue.
Their children have a private tutor. They don't actually go to school. They have a private tutor who comes and teaches them.
Homeschoolers too. They're the whole gambit.
But like, they're not homeschoolers in the sense that like they are taught by a parent at home. They are privately tutored at home.
Oh, true. Yeah, that is actually distinctly different.
Which is a class signifier, right? I mean, it would be even more of a class signifier if they were to send them to like a boarding school or something like that, which I'm sure they have the means to do.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to like, what kind of an image are you attempting to curate? And also, to an extent, what kind of a life do you want to live? Because if you value this idea of, I am going to have my home, everything within my home is going to be under my control, including the way that my kids learn and all of that, you are going to use your resources in a way that advances those goals. And that's true to who you are. You're not just doing it for show.
And it's always going to be impossible to tell because she doesn't explicitly talk about this. Do you think she is intentionally espousing this like lifestyle, this trad wife lifestyle? Do you think that's like a product of her being like, I think we need to have traditional gender roles. I think we need to have women go back to the kitchen. Or do you think that's sort of like, I don't want to say like an influence from the husband necessarily. I guess I just find it hard to believe that it is entirely her own idea, because it sounds like the father, her husband, always sort of wanted this lifestyle. It sounds like he always wanted like a traditional wife, a traditional woman who sort of stayed home and raised kids. not to like put all of this on him, of course. I think she is, of course, doing this willingly. I guess my question is, what do you think insofar as this being an intentional political project from her? Do you think it is?
I think it's very hard to say. I think that is the point. I think that they are attempting to create a lifestyle that is aspirational and conservative coded without being explicitly political. However, I also think that there are certain aspects of the way that they have responded to media coverage that does tip their hand a little bit in terms of what they are seeking to do with this project. And we'll get there in a little bit. Other stuff, by the way, that she's got going on in the account from this point forward, a lot of milking of the cows, because this is a dairy business ? This is the other thing. It's very weird because it's like, what does this farm actually do?
Yeah.
The husband, Daniel, he always wanted to be a hog rancher. So they do have hogs, but they also have chickens and they also have cows. And apparently they have spent no small amount of money on all of these things. But if the point of this farm is to be a profitable farm, they aren't specializing in a way that makes any sense whatsoever.
Also, I'm looking at the Ballerina Farm shop website right now, and I expected to see like, oh, you could buy pork and like, I guess maybe a cow. I think farms traditionally sell cows occasionally. Like I expected to see a normal farm business, but you go on the website and you can find juice jars.
Yeah, and protein powder.
Like baskets and protein powder.
And really cheap aprons.
Tote bags.
And really expensive sweatpants, actually. So this is the weird thing. They have an apron, which is $24.
Yeah.
And then they have a pair of sweatpants that is $98. I don't know where they're sourcing this stuff from. It's very odd.
Also, the ground beef box, $40. The premium burger box is $160. Imagine being like,
how much
here's
beef
your burger.
Do you get for that?
It looks like 6.
6 what?
6. Okay, you get 5 packs of 6 patties, 30 patties.
30 patties for $160?
Wait till you get a load of this. You get some free salt. You get free salt and spice seasoning with that too. All of this to say, though, is this isn't the shop I expected. This isn't like really anything at all that I thought. Like you can get croissants. I guess they sell baked goods too.
Well, and it's also hard to know, like, are they even making all of this? Are they sourcing it from other places? I don't know. They launched this at the end of 2022. The Instagram account gained this tremendous following based partially on all of these weird videos of like making food. Also, all of these videos of her wearing maternity wear while mega pregnant. Because that's the other thing. For this entire time, she's been having kids every 9 or 10 months. In the moment that another kid comes out, she's getting pregnant again, which is crazy.
Does she? Okay, hold on. I'm looking right now. Do they sell maternity wear at all?
I don't believe they do. I believe that what she is modeling is other people's product. Because again, it's SpawnCon. So Ballerina Farm as a consumer brand is something that has basically existed since the end of 2022. And to me, this is where the story of Ballerina Farm gets interesting. Because now it is no longer an influential Instagram aesthetics account. This is a full-scale professional licensing, manufacturing, and direct-to-customer distribution operation.
Yeah.
But, as I had said before, you don't really see the employees in any of the videos. There's like, I found one video where you see the people working in the warehouse for a second. But by and large, they try to make you believe that they are doing all of this themselves. And in terms of the stuff you can buy, we talked about it. There's that beef. Whey protein powder is a big product of theirs. In 2025, they opened a retail location, a retail storefront in Midway, which is a town about 20 miles away from the farm. It's about halfway between Park City and Sundance, if you're familiar with that part of Utah. And this has been causing a great deal of chaos because people are coming to that town just to shop at the Ballerina Farm store, which is this rinky-dinky little fucking storefront.
So I'm pulling this up just because I'm curious because like you know like Ballerina Farms, I don't quite understand how, but they have quite the reach. They have like over 10 million followers. So they opened up a single location, and like I feel like if you get to that amount of followers, if you open up anything, it will just probably get a lot of business, especially in the like sort of like Christian-ish, Mormon-ish sort of like right-wing coded sphere. People eat that shit up in there. Yeah. It's so easy to sell stuff to like the super uber Christian wellness sphere. And like this business, like the Midway location, it's like small. It looks like something you would just sort of come across in like a random town. Like every town has like a place like this. It just looks like a store. It just looks like a
really small storefront.
Like for those who know, in Kenosha, it like almost looks sort of like a slightly bigger Jerry Smith's farm in Kenosha. For those who know, like it's just sort of one of those kind of locations.
But it's mostly about brand extension, right? It's about being able to plant a flag and be like, this is ours. Because
I guess what I'm surprised about though is it just doesn't seem as ambitious as they could be.
No, it's definitely not. I agree. It's not. Which to me is like, well, then why? This is the thing that I experience time and time again researching this is just like, why?
Yeah. I mean, that's like the thing. That's why I have so many questions about like, how much money does the farm make? Are they still, are they like OpenAI? Are they just constantly in the red? Are they losing $1 million a day on,
it just doesn't strike me as a profitable venture at all.
No. And like, I don't think everything needs to be.
No, but it should be if you're like, if the whole point of this is to be like, oh, we are going to make this shit our livelihood.
Yeah.
You need to create a profitable business.
They are selling a lifestyle to people like, oh, look, anyone can do this.
Exactly.
If I can do this, anyone can do this. And actually, you should do this. We're going to sell you our aprons. You go get a farm. You go get a farm. Right. Open up a farm. Go get some pigs.
Make your own
10 trillion children. 10 trillion people. Yeah. It's so odd. Like if they can't even with this level of a step up, if they have all the advantages in the world and like it's not really clear what they do or like how or if they are even doing these things profitably at all.
I mean, there are other places in Midway where you can buy like dairy and dairy products that are better than what you can get here because they're like actual dairy stands from farmers who have been doing this shit for generations.
Yeah, this is like a weird gentrification of farming.
Yes.
Like social media influencing farming is like sort of, this is such an odd new thing. Only in this modern world could this even be possible. And it's odd that it's hard to tell if it's even working properly.
Well, I'll tell you what's not working, or what wasn't working, was their raw milk operation.
They had raw milk. Yes. No, my favorite part on their website is you go to, they have all of their different shop options. They have all of the different categories, and you go to the About Us. They have something called the raw milk statement.
Oh,
I think that's so awesome. So tell me about the raw milk. Tell me about it.
Okay. So one of the products they were trying to sell was raw milk because that was something that we've talked about this on this show. Like people just fetishize raw milk. These people, like these conservative Maha types, they think raw milk is basically magical for reasons I truly cannot fathom. And so they were like, well, we've got cows. We're going to sell raw milk. One of the things that you need to do if you're going to sell raw milk in Utah is you need to submit to regular inspections by the health department. And last year, they failed an inspection. Ooh. Some of their milk tested positive for E. coli. As soon as that happened, they stopped selling raw milk. Jesus. And the raw milk statement and other videos that they've put out have been like, well, we wanted to stop doing raw milk anyway. Don't worry about it.
those who are very crunchy granola, don't worry, we're not abandoning you. We're not.
We just don't feel like doing it anymore.
And it seems like it doesn't say in the raw milk statement when they started selling raw milk. It's sort of unclear on here, but they did stop it fairly recently, in late 2025. So I have to imagine they sort of saw where the wind was blowing. And sort of why I think they are sort of like conservative, intentionally conservative, Christian coded with an agenda, because it was, I have to imagine the ascendancy of like the Maha right wing sort of like weird lifestyle shit, like with that RFK Jr. brought in. I have to imagine they did it like late 2023 throughout 2024, 2025. Like, and then
mid 2025, that summer, they failed the inspection and they spun it down. And I think it's one of those things where, yes, it's ideology, but the reason that they spun it down is that it's at that intersection of ideology and incompetence. These people do not have a background of doing dairy farming. So they don't... The whole reason you pasteurize your milk is that sometimes shit gets in the milk, right? That's just what it is. And that's why all you got to do to pasteurize the milk is you just got to warm it up for a little bit, and that's it. Doesn't change the flavor, doesn't do much.
I have researched raw milk so much, and the way people talk about it on the right in this sphere, the way they talk about raw milk baffles me, dude. I genuinely, I have tried to understand it.
All you do to pasteurize it is warm it up a little bit. You don't even have to boil it. You just have to get it warm enough that it kills the bacteria.
I have seen so many people online in these like raw milk communities try to like faux pasteurize it, but like they're like, oh yeah, I just did it like this, so it's like not pasteurized, but it's like who are you trying to fool? You're like sort of pasteurizing it, doing this like weird process. Why do you care? Like, you're like, what is the benefit here? Like, raw milk is one of those things. Also, I think in the case of Ballerina Farms too, maybe the reason why they were okay with, of course they failed inspection, but I also think these people know that the people that are their customers, the people that aspire to be just like them, are fucking rubes. Like, I think they know they will sort of buy into anything. If the big thing in this sphere is raw milk, they're like, oh, we could probably sell a lot of raw milk. Like, their base is primed to be those kind of people. And they know that. I think they do know that.
Again, it's hard to know, right? We're speculating about intentions of people we don't know. And I'm always a little reticent to do that.
I love speculating.
I think that in this world, they also do on some level probably for themselves believe that like, oh, we should be drinking the raw milk because it's just such an article of faith amongst this type of person, you know?
It is, yeah. Oh God, horrible thought. Do you think that they had their children drink raw milk?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, yes.
God, dude, that's
I would
horrible.
imagine so.
Like, I can't imagine having this many children sort of being subjected to this sort of like trad wife lifestyle, because she does in a lot of the videos, especially more after like the shift to the more trad wife aesthetic, use their kids as like actors essentially in these videos. And that's sort of always been something that has very much bothered me with a lot of like family influencer content, like family vlogs, is that these kids don't really know what they're doing.
No,
they don't really understand. Like, they know what's happening. Kids, I think, are smart enough to know what social media is and what like being recorded for a video is. Like, kids are very smart. They know what it is, but like they won't truly understand the like what that is and like possible repercussions of that until they're teens or adults even. And I'm always concerned whenever I see people are like, here are all my kids, you will observe all my children, now be influenced by me and all of my children.
Because what kids know how to do is get a reaction, preferably a positive one. But in some cases, if you're a kid, any reaction will do. But they don't yet understand the bigger picture consequences of, well, first of all, obviously all of the millions of people out there watching them, but also how it impacts the way that you yourself interact with your own family.
Yeah.
Which is particularly weird because also apparently they don't use computers. They do not allow screens for their kids.
They're like Amish people. They're like Amish.
For the kids. I mean, they do it.
Only for the kids.
The parents do it, but the kids aren't allowed screen time.
They have a business to run, Josh. They have a family. They have a corporate business to run. Of course they gotta.
You're preserving this sense of tradhood for the kids while simultaneously monetizing their presence in a way that is going to be appealing to your target audience. Also, at this point, it is full speed ahead for Ballerina Farms, the business. Now that they have learned how to pasteurize milk,
it's over.
Everything's coming up Ballerina Farm, folks. At the end of 2025, they announced that they are going to be acquiring Park City Creamery, which is
watch out, Dairyland. Holy shit.
Look out. Here we come. 9 kids. Again, the newest baby arrived last month. They announced the pregnancy in February, so just a couple months ago, by showing a very visibly pregnant Hannah in an advertisement for their protein powder. That also doubled as the announcement of pregnancy number 9. Ladies and gentlemen, this is pregnancy number 9. I wanted to play you a little bit of this ad that they just put out for the protein powder because the sound mix is awful.
Oh, the buzzing. Do they have a CRT TV in there? Jesus.
As a ballerina, you are associated with many things.
Her voice is just completely lost in the mix.
Yeah.
Elegance, grace, poise. But a term not often associated enough.
What?
Strength. Before the curtain rose, there existed discipline, sweat.
What?
Blistered feet.
This music is crazy.
Every turn, every plie.
Yeah.
Is a
Horrible.
Those are muscles
sounds.
stretching.
growing. Catch your breath. Stay on beat. Repeat.
So visually what's going on is like it's a bunch of ballerinas and they're dancing and you're like seeing their muscles tensing and stuff like that.
To be strong. And despite what some people think, that strength never leaves you.
Cut to Hannah.
It prepares you.
Very visibly pregnant. She's drinking a glass of milk.
The stage is different. But the strength is the same.
And then it's like, buy our protein powder. They're trying to sort of do the thing that you've seen in ads for like Nike and Brooks and stuff like that, where the sound is high in the mix to make it feel intense. But they just did a shit job of leveling everything out. And so it just sounds scary.
It was scary. I didn't hear like a quarter of the words she said. There was this portion near the end. I just straight up don't know what she was saying. Not quite sure how this made the cut, but they clearly, maybe this is what they're learning too. Maybe they're like, we're learning production, sound design. Like we're learning, we're like that's a trad life type thing too. That's on the chopping block next for us. Is we're learning editing.
I don't know jack shit about audio, and I still managed to make this show sound good. They have no excuse.
They have so much money. Like I'm so baffled by their existence. Everything about them.
Before we move on to talking a bit more about the more explicitly natalist piece of all of this and the way that Ballerina Farm interacts with the natalist world more broadly, I guess I just wanted to ask you, June, what are your thoughts on all of this so far regarding developing this aesthetic and how it works, or sort of the intersection between the public performance of what the thing is versus the real life of it all, just as somebody who has seen a lot of people do a lot of shit online.
Putting aside the trad wife of it, putting aside the like farm sort of aspect of all of this, It's like sort of indistinguishable. They're sort of running an operation on the social aspect, sort of indistinguishable from any sort of aspirational type of influencer where it's like, oh, look at how beautiful everyone is. Look how pristine and proper, and we're all happy, we're all great, and we also have a store where you can buy $160 beef. That aside, can't trust anything they say about themselves or like what they're, especially because I know in the back of my head this entire time, ever since I first learned about these people, I know it's not just a sort of innocent, like, oh, we're sort of a farm family. We just love to have a lot of kids. It's not just that, it's like they are trying to, without explicitly saying it or not, trying to bring back traditional gender roles, or at least I think that is the intention. Where they sort of are like, the woman should be this like proper, pristine in the kitchen, raising kids, have a family. The guy should be wrangling the hogs and doing I don't know what else. I don't really know what he does. I guess he makes calls to his dad at JetBlue, probably.
I think that's a big piece of it, honestly. I think that's how he makes most of his money.
Yeah, but it's
speculation, to be clear, speculation.
But like ultimately for me, it's like this is an illusion put on by people to sort of, I don't want to say trick, but I think there is a tricky aspect to it. Into being like, wow, maybe I should quit my job. Like from the woman's perspective, maybe I should quit my job. Maybe I should find a good Christian man. Maybe I should go take care of a family. Maybe I should homemake.
And I think to the question of like, what is it that Daniel actually does? I think it is the work of building a brand. It's marketing and logistics and that sort of thing, I would imagine.
They don't talk about it explicitly, of course, also, but they are marketers. This is a marketing.
Yes, it's a marketing operation.
Also, all this sort of social operation is marketing inherently. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that gets me too, is like the product. I have the question of like, what product are they selling? Because honestly, it's not the protein powder, right? I genuinely don't know if that protein powder is being made from whey that is a byproduct of their dairy, or if that is just a repackaged white label powder that they are ordering from some fucking supplier. Because here's the thing, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It's the illusion. I personally, my personal belief is I do not think that they are using their protein, their meat, or for any I think the like frozen stuff, the stuff that you can buy under the category like frozen, like the freezer goods, I think most of that is probably theirs, maybe. But like ultimately, incidentally, like it doesn't matter. Tertiary to the brand itself,
right?
Of the social media aspect of it, I think that's the primary thing.
Yeah. The thing they are selling is the brand, is the lifestyle, is the idea of Ballerina Farm.
I would love to see the financials for the farm over the last, I think, 8 years now. I would be so fascinated to see, especially knowing how expensive like that oven you said is. That cannot be the only thing that is like $30,000 in this entire remodel, this entire farm.
I guess the other thing too is like, I don't care if somebody wants to buy a $30,000 oven. Like if it's a high quality product that is going to last, fine. For me, it's not actually about the money. It's about creating this image that to me rings fundamentally false and selling it as the real deal. They are selling authenticity as a product.
See, I think that is for me why the money actually is important, because obviously this is an inauthentic thing. This is an illusion. They're creating this family that they're probably not as an aspiration, because to me it's like, okay, if they're not selling these products, they're selling this lifestyle. They're selling that anyone can buy a farm, anyone can do what we do, anyone can do this. And I'm sorry, like not everyone has a JetBlue CEO father,
right?
Like not everyone can do this. So I guess my concern is they might inspire some person to be like, I'm gonna buy a farm and do this and try to also do this, and like I don't know how much that has happened, but I guess my concern is it's like they are selling something that is a false reality to people.
I definitely think they're selling a false reality, but I'm not necessarily convinced that they are selling it as if we did this so you can too. That is a slightly different kind of content where like you're basically being like, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps and you can also pay off $40,000 of student loans in 1 year with these
don't do that.
3 simple tips. They don't really do that. But I completely agree that they are selling a lifestyle. They are selling the ideal of a lifestyle that is simply impossible. And that's not anything new in marketing.
No.
It's just very strange given the reality of what the actual thing is.
It's hard to raise one child in this economy. 9 children, not a thing most people can do.
Especially when you're fucking flying them on trips. This is the other thing. She'll just have these travel blogs where it's like, we all went to Copenhagen, and then we went to Portugal, and then we went to England. It's like, with 9 kids?
That sounds horrible. That sounds god awful. Jesus Christ.
I mean, again, great if your husband's dad is a JetBlue founder. It means you can probably fly for quite a bit less. But like that is beyond impossible for the vast and overwhelming majority of people. But again, it's an aspirational thing, right?
It is, and I think that's ultimately the problem. Obviously, with most influencers of this type, of this variety. I've seen recently that there has been this like push. I don't know how significant it is, but I've just seen a lot of people start to turn on like influencer types that are like, I am beautiful and I wear these beautiful clothes that are SponCon, and I am here to tell you about why you should also be wearing this SponCon. And like I've seen some like growing pushback against that, but that's like base level essentially what this family is.
I think I've sort of hit on what it is that bothers me about it so much.
Yeah.
The image that they are presenting is not necessarily one of, oh, you could also do this, but it is one of, this is what essential simplicity looks like.
Oh, sure.
This is what it looks like when you've stripped back all of the unnecessary extras and accoutrement that we consider to be core to our needs in this crazy thing we call the world. When in fact, their world is very materialistic.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't necessarily have a problem with materialism per se, but I have a problem with it when you are presenting your world as the antidote to consumer culture.
When it is based upon that, like it is based around that. Yeah, absolutely. It's sort of the hypocrisy of it at a base level.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people find this stuff so engaging too. I think that's why
fascinating.
I think that's why there are entire fucking subreddits full of people who love to clown on this family.
There's like a couple of interviews that they have done that I think is where some of it, like the aesthetics slips.
Yes.
But other than that, like from themselves, they don't really ever slip up. They don't slip.
Well, and I guess to the point of slip ups, that's kind of where I wanted to go next, because the big thing that sort of put Ballerina Farm on the map for people who aren't obsessed with weird trad content was when Hannah appeared in the Mrs. World pageant 12 days after having a child. And as a result of all of that social media exposure, she got a lot of requests for further interviews, one of which was with the Sunday Times. Again, the London Times, the Times of London, their Sunday edition. And I've got here a quote from that article, which was published on July 20, 2024.
Hannah Neeleman was pregnant with her 8th child, and she had 2 due dates. The first was for a baby, obviously. The second, just under 2 weeks later, was for a beauty pageant. Neeleman had been crowned a Mrs. American in August 2023 at a Las Vegas mega casino and resort. So she was invited back to the city to compete in Mrs. World, parading around the stage in a swimsuit and 5-inch heels, shoulders back and hip popped, spray tanned, glistening, and 12 days postpartum, obviously. That's fucking crazy. Isn't the recommended postpartum recovery 8 weeks, like generally?
You shouldn't be in a pageant 12 days after you give birth.
No, that's probably really rough on her body. That's probably really, really bad on anyone's body, not just hers. That's really dangerous. I had known it was coming, says Neeleman, 34 at the time, sitting in her kitchen in rural Utah, 2 of her children literally swinging off her long golden hair. So I had prepared. During the pregnancy, it took brute strength, guts, and bravery to make sure she could eventually look so perfectly pretty. She kept fit, weightlifting before her children woke up. She had ice baths, lowering herself into the irrigation.
What is this, the end of men?
On the farm. Yeah, what the fuck? And she took iron supplements to speed up the healing. Incredible. The things that they don't post on their social media that she does, apparently.
And that's not even getting into the ball tanning.
No. Oh my. She also does that. Yeah.
Yeah.
On January 2nd this year, Flora was born in the upstairs bedroom without pain relief. A one-push baby, Neeleman said on Instagram. In the first days, she laid low, not leaving the house. On the 5th day, she says, I looked at Daniel, her husband, and I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. This is a lot. I was bleeding and swollen and milk was coming in. On the seventh day, she rose from the dead. Sorry. I had to do it.
That's not what that says.
I had to. It was sitting there. On the seventh day, she rose from bed doing her bar exercises in the bathroom. A former ballerina, she trained at the Juilliard School in New York. By day 9, she was trying on outfits, zipping herself into a pair of leather trousers and skin-tight white ball gown. Day 10, spray tan. Day 11, a 2-hour flight with a newborn to Las Vegas. Her husband and 7 children followed behind her, along with other members of her family. And by day 12, she was on the stage. Luckily, she says she had stopped bleeding. Jesus Christ.
Why would you get on a fucking plane? You don't want to be getting on a plane 10 days after you've given birth. That's not, or 11 days. Sorry.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake City's not that far away from Las Vegas. You could absolutely drive. I just don't get it. I really don't. You shouldn't be doing this at all, to be clear. But like
anyone can do anything. I'm just worried about her physically. Like that's can't be good. That can't be good. She made it through to the second round of the competition. Her social media following exploded as Ballerina Farm. She has 9 million followers on Instagram, 7.4 million on TikTok, and 1.5 million on YouTube at the time. And people went berserk. Was this the ultimate act of empowerment? Neeleman doing what she wanted? Or the ultimate demonstration of oppression, her tender body encased in spiky sequins? Neeleman, whether she liked it or not, was declared leader of a new and controversial group of the internet, the Tradwives. Throughout the maelstrom, she had remained, publicly at least, steadfast. She never explained, she never complained, a silence I had interpreted as defiance. But is it? Well, I have flown across the breadth of America and driven through the mountains of rural Utah to ask her if, that is, I can get her alone.
And the article from here goes on to document the writer's experience on the compound for like a day. And you read the article, right, June?
I did, yes.
So what were your big thoughts? Because this was a controversial piece.
The way that the Neelemans reacted to this was that it was like, oh, this was a hit piece. This is sort of like we thought this was such a good experience. We thought this was like a really friendly thing. And like, I guess when on my initial reading of this is I didn't necessarily think of this as like a hit piece.
No.
There were like critiques of certain aspects of their relationship and like their lifestyle, specifically the relation with like the Hannah and Daniel.
Like, for instance, the thing that I read toward the top of the episode about how he booked himself onto her flight so that he could like basically trap her next to him for 5 hours, right? Like that was
odd.
one of the things that they took umbrage with.
and to me, it's like that's not necessarily like a hit. Because maybe I'm just too woke. Maybe I'm just too woke and I can't see that. But to me, that's just like you have to include that in a part of their story to explain how they got to where they are now, right? Like you can't just gloss over that.
If you didn't want the news to report on that part of your story, you shouldn't have told them.
Yeah. Like all of this was the reporter's experience and based off of all public available information from them about them.
Yeah.
I think the thing that interests me is this, to me, doesn't strike me as a hit piece, but it did to them. Yeah. And I guess my thought, again, speculation, but how much of it, their response to that piece was sort of planned in that way? Because the thing that we have seen in this period, in this like sort of post-truth hyper online reality that we live in, the it feels true reality, is that you can portray yourself as a victim or as if you're under attack. Your values are under attack and people will rally to you. It's sort of good marketing, especially in like for the right. The right uses this all the time where it's like your values are under attack. And what will fix this? Buying my raw milk is like sort of, and so maybe it's like this, the non-trusting cynic part of my mind where I feel like they sort of stoked the flames intentionally.
Oh, I absolutely think they did.
Yeah.
I don't think that they specifically did this interview so that they would get attacked by the liberal media or whatever.
Right. Totally
agree. I think that they saw an opportunity to sort of cash in on the outrage machine and they fucking took it.
Yeah, because the original Times article, it's interesting. It's interesting look, but there's nothing really egregious about it. Again, maybe I'm too woke, but like there really it should not have led to like a viral fucking phenomena. I don't think the backlash, the reaction to it was bonkers.
The big thing that they seemed to mostly take umbrage with is the article's framing, where the writer never really got to spend any considerable amount of time with Hannah one-on-one.
Right.
Because the writer felt that she was constantly getting fucking railroaded by Daniel. Mm-hmm. And they did not care for that. They thought it was very disingenuous of the writer to... I wouldn't even say she critiques Daniel. She doesn't.
No,
she just
really
basically
not.
says like, I kept on getting like taken from place to place to place to place, and Daniel kept explaining everything, and I just wanted to ask some questions.
And nominally, Hannah is the icon of this entire family.
Ballerina of Ballerina Farm. Exactly.
Yeah, she is the most front facing, other than the kids. Like from what I've seen, there are photos of him every once in a while, but he's sort of a tertiary figure in the like social media strategy.
Yes, exactly.
But then and that was sort of the thing where the reporter was like, it's kind of weird that he's like kind of running the whole show here. Like he's sort of like, I'm not. I feel like the reporter, the journalist, was not like, I was expecting a liberal feminist household. And I think that's sort of just what she's observed. And I think that's a very valid observation, that this is like a very traditional, in practice, maybe lifestyle. And maybe Daniel was a bit controlling in that sense. And it sounds like he probably is, against speculation.
And he probably didn't have media training. And that's another thing, is that apparently after this article, one of the first things they did was they got a publicist. And so now they actually have their own PR person. So by the time they did an interview with the New York Times a few months later, they had their PR person, who is mentioned in the New York Times article, but it's very clear that the narrative that comes out of that article is the one that the publicist wanted to have put out there. And I think that's very interesting.
I'm fascinated that they didn't have a publicist for so long.
You'd think with the amount of money they have and like the size of their brand that they would want that, but
I guess that's one of the pieces consistently talking about them where I'm like, are they like sort of intentionally doing this sort of like natalist agenda? Again, I think it's underlying it, so it will, regardless of intentions, it is having that very conservative trad wife agenda. But I think they're just kind of like, I think in some cases, it's cases like that where they just didn't have a publicist or a PR person, where they aren't maybe thinking about these things. They're just doing them because it's making them famous, or they're sort of seeing rewards from leaning into certain things. And they're not actually actively thinking about the like outward facing brand as much as I guess maybe I think they are. I don't know.
These are their beliefs too, right? I mean, one of the things that the article, one of the contested pieces of the article, I'll just go ahead and read here. They have a cleaner but no childcare. Neeleman does all the food shopping, kids in tow, and cooks from scratch. They don't do ready meals. Despite the more traditional aspects of their relationship, Daniel is a hands-on father, taking the kids out to the farm and doing all the laundry. The children appear to look after each other quite well too. There are so many that they seem to have become an almost self-sustaining entity. I do think that's interesting, given our talk in past episodes about the way that children in these large families basically become surrogate parents.
Yeah.
Still, Daniel says, Neeleman sometimes gets so ill from exhaustion that she can't get out of bed for a week.
Oh my God.
The bedroom is also where she had her children, with the exception of Henry and Martha, who were born in a hospital, a fact that did not escape some of her followers. After that, I was like, I'm ready to go back home, she says. I just love having them at home. It's so quiet. She also gave birth to them without pain relief. None at all? She shakes her head. Why? I don't know. I just have never loved taking it. She stops herself. Except with Martha. I was 2 weeks overdue and she was 10 pounds and Daniel wasn't with me. She lowers her voice. Daniel is currently out of the room, taking a phone call. So I got an epidural and it was an amazing experience. Where was Daniel that day? It was shipping day and he was manning the crew. But the epidural was kind of great. She pauses and smiles. It was kind of great.
Oh.
I want to ask her about birth control, but we are surrounded by so many of her children, and Daniel's back in the room now too. Do you, I pause and look at her fixedly, plan pregnancies? No, Daniel says. When he says no, Neeleman responds gently, it's very much a matter of prayer for me. I'm like, God, is it time to bring another one to the earth? And I've never been told no. But for whatever reason, it's exactly 9 months after a baby that she's ready for the next one, he says. It's definitely a matter of prayer, she says. It's a matter of prayer, but somehow it's exactly 9 months, he says.
All of this, my personal theory is that she is sort of amenable to, this is the classic scenario of woman who could like sort of go either way. She has some like beliefs, but ultimately she is sort of convinced by a husband, by a man in her life to sort of embrace this more sort of conservative lifestyle, this sort of woo-woo, no birth control, no this, no that. Because that's also a weird thing that we've briefly touched on the show is just like this like natural birthing sphere. I don't understand the benefits to this. I can't understand. Like, it's just more pain for the woman, but there's like the no painkillers as well is like a big part of this whole.
Yeah,
like,
you got to raw dog it, right? Like,
yeah, like for what purpose? I guess it's their theory is that it's just like better. It's better for the kids. It's better for their upbringing. No chemicals. I think the reporter for that piece was sort of on the money with that critique that it's like sort of a controlling man in the household
weird.
situation.
It definitely feels
very weird. Yeah, because none of this needs to be this way. It doesn't need to be this way.
Yeah, what's the point of enduring pain during pregnancy that you wouldn't need to otherwise endure? That doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't. There is genuinely no need.
But Hannah was not happy about any of this article, right? And so she posted an Instagram reel where she basically read the Times for absolute filth.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a reporter come into our home to learn more about our family and business. We thought the interview went really well, very similar to the dozens of interviews we had done in recent memory. We were taken back, however, when we saw the printed article, which shocked us and shocked the world by being an attack on our family and my marriage, portraying me as oppressed, with my husband being the culprit. This couldn't be further from the truth. Nothing we said in the interview implied this conclusion, which leads me to believe the angle taken was predetermined. For Daniel and I, our priority in life is God and family. Everything else comes second. The greatest day of my life was when Daniel and I were married 13 years ago. Together we have built a business from scratch. We've brought 8 children into this world and have prioritized our marriage all along the way. We are co-parents, co-CEOs, co-diaper changers, kitchen cleaners, and decision makers. We are one, and I love him more today than I did 13 years ago. We have many dreams still to accomplish. We aren't done having babies. We are excited for our new farm store to open, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for the rest of it. But for now, I'm doing what I love most, being a mother, wife, a businesswoman, a farmer, a lover of...
That is where it cuts off.
You didn't, that wasn't just like an error on your side? That's how it ended?
That's actually, and then it loops back to being a lover of...
at least they're consistent. Their audio mixing and recording just not up there, not the high quality you would expect from this family. To me, it reeks of a woman who is like doing the submission to the husband routine. But whenever she talks frontal facing in any way, it's like, no, but we're like equal. We do all this, we do that. We're equal. But then when you like sort of see the like peek behind the curtain a little bit, it's like, well, I don't think it really is.
Yeah. And to what extent is this actual frustration, rage, whatever, versus something that has been calibrated to gin up the outrage machine?
Exactly.
I don't know.
To me, she doesn't sound that upset.
No, but also maybe she just sounds like that. I don't know. I haven't met her. What I can say is that the outrage machine did spin up for this one. I've got some headlines here. Blaze TV, August 2. There is nothing feminists hate more than family. And the Sunday Times article on Ballerina Farms proves it. Proves there is in all caps.
Proves it.
The Federalist, August 2. Media hate Ballerina Farm's Hannah Neeleman because she's a happily married mother.
Yep, here we go. It's their lifestyle's coming under attack.
Yep. We got one here from the Institute for Family Studies.
Yes.
They keep coming back. You remember the Institute for Family Studies, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Our buddy Lyman Stone.
Great friend.
This one, it was just called A Hit Piece on Large Families. And then, my favorite is the assist from her friends over at Evie, the Tradwife magazine, which we've talked about, the Peter Thiel funded Tradwife magazine.
I genuinely always forget that. He has his hands in every fucking bucket you can imagine.
So in 2022, she actually posed for like a 40, 50-page photo spread for the print edition of Evie.
Yeah.
And they were right back in her corner here in 2024.
Recordings clipped and released by The Times contain dialogue from Hannah that was omitted from the article. The audio is from the Story podcast, an episode that Agnew was featured in. You give up pieces of yourself, Hannah can be heard telling the journalist, adding that she doesn't think she would change that. The next clip contained the part I felt was incredibly wrong for Agnew to leave out. But Daniel was like, if you want to dance, go dance. Unlike what the audience had initially believed, Hannah's husband allowed her to continue with ballet. We were open to anything, but I knew deep down that I wanted to raise my babies. She said, the truth is Hannah wanted to dedicate her time to motherhood. So she did. That was her choice, but the media had successfully made it seem like it wasn't.
So this person's argument, the Evie person, the person writing for Evie, this person's argument is, hey, this writer is representing Hannah in such bad faith. She didn't include the whole quote in the article. You know how I know? Because that quote was in the audio podcast that writer also produced.
Come on, this is
what are you talking about?
The classic conservative guy thing where it's like, no one's talking about the media. Look, and then they cite CNN or something talking about the thing.
They are citing the exact same outlet, but the podcast of the Times rather than the print edition, in being like, well, they weren't telling the whole truth.
Yeah.
You know how I know? Because in their podcast, they included the quote.
No, this was so... The response to this is so manufactured.
That dog won't fucking hunt.
Yeah, I fully believe the response to this is fully manufactured, especially from the right. For the last couple of years, they have been very intent on sort of portraying this vision of like younger people, like, oh, young people are returning to gender traditions, gender norms, like religion. Oh, the kids, they love religion and conservatism. Oh, let me tell you, they love that. And of course, filtering it back to Hannah because they view that family as like a good example of like what that can be. It's like they know it's good propaganda. It's good propaganda to feed back the conservatives into this sort of ecosystem.
But it's also something even more annoying than that, which is good old-fashioned clout riding.
Yeah.
They see this account that has 10 million followers, and they're like, cut me off a piece of that.
Yeah, they do that all the time. You're right.
Yeah.
Whenever anyone is under attack, it's like Nicki Minaj recently. They were like, oh, Nicki, like everyone on the right loves Nicki Minaj now. And it's like, okay, I guess you always loved her, I suppose. That's how it sounds like when these people talk about it. But you're right. It is the conservatives, especially people like Blaze TV. I mean, they're fairly far right.
Fairly.
Yeah, they're fairly far right. They really want to push this sort of no gay, no trans, like traditional gender, a million babies lifestyle.
Well, and the narrative is really important here too, because this article was one of the only articles I've seen profiling Ballerina Farm where the author actually tries to ask political questions. Like another thing that she asks is, what do you think about abortion? What do you think about feminism? They don't want to talk about that stuff because it gives the game away that their project is also essentially political.
Yeah.
But they want to portray themselves as being apolitical, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's part of I think the usefulness from their perspective, from the right's tradwife perspective, it's useful and effective propaganda because it's not so explicit. You can see, like, you look at Tucker Carlson, the average person, maybe he's not the best example. You look at You look at someone like Jesse Waters on Fox News.
Yeah.
You hear anything that fucking guy spouts out, and
you're gonna laugh because he's so
the
funny.
Funniest guy. Greg Gutfeld, both of them together.
Gutfeld's number one. Jesse Waters is number two.
Make me, them yucking it up. It's fucking peak. No, but it's like, unless you're like already in that sphere, you're going to be repulsed by essentially anything these people say. But if you see this like fairly affluential, beautiful family just being like, oh, we're just milking our cows today. It's sort of that, like, it's sort of a pipelining. It's sort of it's a different type of pipeline that the far right pipeline has always sort of manifested as. This is a lot more subtle, I think, directed specifically more towards women.
But when you put a critical eye on it, it peels back that subtlety immediately. You lose the illusion of subtlety because it's not subtle, actually. It's not subtle at all.
It's not if you dig a little deeper, but I do think it is, and I think that is like the danger of some of this content generally. I think people generally are aware of like trad wifery at this point, but I think if you're in the know, you're not going to be fooled by this. But I think I think my theory of all of this is the right has sort of mastered this like masculinity pipelining effect. I think it's being peeled away currently under this Trump administration, of course, with the like failing of all of his entire administration. But I think one thing that the right has always been trying to really figure out is the equivalent for women.
Yes.
Women in America and just across the world are generally a lot more liberal and far left leaning compared to men. And I think conservatives view that as a continuous problem for like this traditional anti-feminist agenda. If women are not getting on board, they will long-term flounder. They will not end up getting this culture war victory that they so desire. So they're trying to build that ecosystem in any way they can.
And the way they're doing it, paradoxically, I think, is through choice feminism. They're saying, what? You don't think a woman should be able to choose the kind of lifestyle? I thought you were pro-choice. But what? The moment that a woman wants to go and have 8 babies, then you're no longer in favor of her choice?
Yeah. No, choice feminism is like their favorite weapon. Yeah, it really is. Yeah, you see it used all the time, especially from people at like Evie magazine, because they're essentially a traditional anti-feminist women's magazine. Yeah,
because the great thing about choice feminism is that just like everything else that involves the, I guess, illusion of individual choice, it allows you to move things away from the frame of, well, are these rights being guaranteed or not? You know, do you actually have a choice, or are you just being presented with the illusion of choice? And I think that that's the thing about natalism writ more large as well, is that you have this supposition of the birth rates are down. Don't you want to do something about it? What should we do? What choices should we make to get that birth rate back up? And so rather than even addressing the underlying supposition that this is a problem at all, you accept the first thing on the merits, and then you move forward to, okay, which solution do we want to find? Similarly with this, you're accepting the framing of, women do have the ability to make any choice they want, and then, you know, continuing from there rather than questioning the underlying assumption.
That's why this sort of backlash from the like Blaze TV, Federalist, Lyman Stone's outlet.
It's technically not his, but I'm going to say that it is because it makes him mad.
The far right views women having like this choice, like actual choice, not just like this choice feminism that they weaponize, of course,
right,
but like actual choice as part of the reason why the birth rate is falling, because like women are in the workplace, women are prioritizing themselves. They aren't just like reliant on a man. So they view that as a problem. They view feminism inherently as a problem that needs to be sort of corrected on.
Because the choice that they present is, well, would you rather choose to stay at home and have 1 kid? Or would you want to stay at home and have 10 kids? Those are your choices. You don't have the choice to pursue a professional life or whatever, or not have kids or not get married. They are not subtle about this. Right. Time and time again, you have to be further down the pipeline, obviously, before they start talking like this, but they will talk about how it is important for us to roll back women's advances in the world of careers and academia and that sort of thing. That all of these are the reasons that the birth rate is down, is women have too many options.
Yeah, and like, women in workplaces is like a fairly new thing. So the fact that this like fairly new thing, like there's people alive today that didn't have that when they were born or when they were young. And they're like, oh, traditional, like having kids is under attack. All of this is under attack. We're being under attack. It's like, no, like it's just all such a fake outrage. And it's in service of sort of trying to break down feminism in this way. The right always knows how to perfectly get that flame underneath people to get people angry, mad, feel attacked, feel out, everything's out of the control. So what do? You have to follow their step by step, like fucking, I don't know, you have to buy the raw milk.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you think. I personally am just very upset that these angry liberals would take down a wonderful woman who just wants to be at home with her family.
I know.
Why do you think they do that?
It's such a shame that having children in this world today just makes you
a target.
Like pikes come out for you, fucking like torches, fucking like it's bad out there. You have a kid, if you're outside my place with a stroller, be careful.
Watch your fucking back.
Watch your fucking back.
You watch your fucking back.
Careful. You do not want to see what's gonna happen when I see a mother around.
Let me tell you something. I only respect one kind of baby, and it's the one who listens to this podcast.
Aww.
That's it. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.